T Ministries. Next event here at the Fountains Church this weekend. It is called Numbers, and our guest here has been a very, very busy man of late. He has been almost the I have been everywhere man, and when it comes to Rumbles, in fact, he won a Rumble. We're going to talk about that in another company. Plus, we're going to talk about, I guess, his moment that he finally had in winning that GTM world title and how it all slipped away, but he might be on track to get to where he needs to be. He needs no further introduction, but because he has been a staple for us here each and every time we get ready for a GTM show, he is going to get his usual introduction because they don't call him a vigilante of pro wrestling for nothing. So with that, wait, further ado here on the Sports Boy, number one, the Rebel Sports Show, the former GTM heavyweight champion of the world and the first ever Bolton Town Wrestling Rumble winner. He's the vigilante of pro wrestling. He's Bentley. My friend, how are you?
Not too bad. I mean, I'll be honest, that hurt a little when you said former GTM champion. That was a little, felt like a little dig, to be honest, at the start. At the start.
Well, you could look at it, and I'll get to comments. You could look at it and say every time we had you on before every other show, you were almost the never was, or almost the almost man.
Maybe true.
I mean, so technically, I guess you could say you're no longer the almost guy anymore.
Yeah, you could. I've won 2 big ones now, really, haven't I?
Yes, and that's the point here. Actually, the last 3 months, maybe you've turned the corner finally. I mean, I know it's kind of hard to say, well, what am I supposed to say? Trying to think about it here and introducing you because we do these live. There's no ad-libbing. There's no way we can re-record it and go back on the tape. I mean, you did win the GT Ministries world title. And on top of that, you won the first ever Rumble in Bolton Town. So you have the momentum that nobody else has right now, I would say.
Yeah, and you could say after what happened at GTM that could have, made it go the opposite way. I could have, it could have sent my head west. I could have entered the Bolton Rumble and I could have blown it.
And you also got a very difficult hand, by the way, in that Rumble because you came out and you were one of the earlier participants in that Rumble. In order to win this Rumble, Bentley, you had to go almost an hour. So at the end of the day, yes, you could have certainly put your head down, could have gave up and just banged your head through the wall. We would have just been on with our merry ways. Maybe you wouldn't be here. But here you are, Bentley, back as always. You're always resilient. They don't call you the vigilante of pro wrestling for nothing. And that's why you might be in position once again to continue to defy the odds in GTM and win this Rumble and get another crack at your old foe and longtime nemesis, Rabbit.
I mean, yeah, that is exactly what I plan on doing because I could have done it once. I can do it again. Like, there's nothing or nobody that can stop me from winning the Rumble on Saturday because I've done it. I'm on that wave of momentum now. I'm on a mission. I was betrayed by someone I thought I could trust, and that has just fueled the fire 100% more if it couldn't already be fueled anymore.
Well, and I did ask you that, by the way, before we went to the Fountains Church, and I remember vividly asking you, are you sure you can trust some of these guys that you thought maybe you could count on them? And they turned out to really show their, not even true colors, but their colors that they've always had. And the likes of Rabbit is an example.
I mean, you can look at it as like, I'm a vigilante. Like, how many superheroes have, allies? Maybe Batman.
And we spoke about this for a long time here. If you think about the past several months in GTA, who were your friends after battling Drill, Stealth, and Disciple for all these months?
Exactly. There's nobody on that roster who I can 100% trust. I know I had Jack on my team, but we've got our differences. We know that we've got a long history of
very long in
we've
GTM
got a
alone.
future.
Very long.
We've got a history and a future of fighting each other. So that was just a means to an end because I knew he wanted. I promised him a title shot, and obviously I can't give him that now. But that was one of the deals with Jack. Who knows what it would have been like if I didn't offer him that. Maybe he would have walked out. Maybe, I know what Jack's like. Anything could happen. So, yeah, I don't have a person who I can fully trust on the GTM roster.
Well, we're going to certainly, I'm sure, talk about these things here in a few minutes because I have a lot to talk about here in a short amount of time here. I want to say hello to our friends at GT Ministries UK, who, by the way, you can watch numbers as we get ready to rumble this Saturday in the Fountains Church. That'll be live on YouTube and Facebook, 7 p.m. British Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, like for me in New York. So right before you think about going to see Oppenheimer or maybe you're going to go see Mission Impossible again, you go out and watch GT Ministries numbers because I promise you it's going to be just as exciting, or if not more exciting. So what's that?
People watch Barbie as well.
Yeah, people were joking with me, are you going to watch Barbie? I'm like, well, I mean, Oppenheimer, I'm kind of want to see it. I've seen Mission Impossible already twice, and I want to see it at least a third and a fourth time because I'm really into it right now. But we're going to watch GT Ministries numbers first. So we'll see if Bentley's going to be our next Tom Cruise, going to be our next superhero in the big screen, but we're going to be seeing him on our big screen coming up here on YouTube and Facebook this Saturday. Daniel Banner, who's going to be in the Rumble as well. He's been a staple on Sportswire. We're going to see him for the first time in the Rumble. Says hello, Tom and Bentley. I'm looking forward to seeing you Saturday in the ring. Trust is earned, and I hope I can gain yours eventually. We'll have to find out here in the Rumble. But, a lot of people, Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling, are going to have a target marked for you because you've had this success. So you've shown your resilience. You've shown you haven't given up. The plan is still the same to reclaim the title, but this time to keep it for a long amount of time. But guys that saw you, that were in the Rumble in Bolton Town, are going to see you in GTM. They're going to have a scouting report on you. And on top of that, guys in GTM are going to want to make it their mission to stop you from basically rewriting the story, continuing to go on to what everybody has wanted to see over the past year. So are you going into this knowing that you're going to have a big bullseye on your back, and how do you prepare for this?
I've always got a bullseye on my back from one person or another, so it's no different to any other time. Like, going into Bolton Rumble, I knew Drill would be after me because of Jack. I knew Getsky would be after me because of our history. There's people everywhere who I have had issues with, and it just never stops. So it's no different to any other time. I know there's going to be people who'll be like, oh, he won that Rumble. Oh, he's someone to get. Well, bring him on. I'll just kick him in the face like I did for everybody in Bolton.
All right. I mean, okay, I get that. I get all that, but it was different in your first in Bolton Town ever Rumble, right? It's the first Rumble in Bolton Town. You hadn't done one of these in a while. Last year, obviously, you weren't there in the Rumble. We've spoke about that in the past as to why. But now people are going to know, well, you know what? Bentley was the marathon man. Bentley was the man that lasted all this time. Now I know what Bentley's strengths are. I know what Bentley's weaknesses are. So they're kind of going to have you kind of pinned out almost a plan on what to do there. So for you, in order to counter this, do you have a different strategy? Because nobody knows what number you're going to enter in this time. You could enter, again, number 5, number 6, whatever it was, or maybe be 30. You'll be lucky enough to be 30. But do you have a different strategy, or is it the same strategy for the one you employed that allowed you to win the Rumble in Bolton Town last month?
So as a wrestler, for a Rumble, you cannot study everybody else in there. You can't know what anybody's going to do because there's people coming from any directions anyway. You don't know what people are doing. So with regards to people researching me, I know myself as a wrestler, I wouldn't be researching other people just because of the unpredictability of a Rumble. I would know of people, but I wouldn't look at their strengths and weaknesses just because it's a Rumble. A one-on-one match, fair enough. You've got all this time to feel them out. You've got you know what to look for. But Rumble, you've got seconds to think about things. You haven't got long enough to be like, oh, well, that's Disciple over there. I know, you haven't got time. You really haven't got time. So I'm not as worried about that. What potentially is worrying is, you've got if Disciple, Stealth, and Driller are at the same time. That could be worrying if I'm in there with them.
Modern Day Mafia, obviously, all three of them could be in the ring together. I mean, that's a point to be made as well. I mean, there are groups in GTM that they could, maybe they say, let's go make a truce, let's go make a deal, and you're the man that they would definitely want to eliminate, because if you're out of it, I mean, they may feel, it's their ticket, and especially for Disciple, because nobody really knows what's on his mind since he's lost the title. I mean, we haven't heard from Disciple since. I mean, what is he going to say? What is he going to think? I mean, I am sure he's going to have something to say, no doubt it. And he's going to use that at the Rumble coming up. And I know he's going to want to make a pact with Drill and Stealth to get you out.
Yeah, so I've dispatched of those three once. I'll have to do it again. This time, probably more on my own. But as we saw, it was me against two of them at the end of the 6-man tag. So I'm used to fighting against the odds. I'm used to having to deal with Disciple. I know I can deal with Disciple. I've dealt with Disciple a lot, and I know what to do with Disciple. So it's just being wary and being, acknowledging where people are, not overthinking it. I think you can't overthink these things, and then you drive yourself crazy because there's 29 other people, and you can't think about every single person in there. You can highlight dangers, but you just got to look after yourself. Same routine for me, same tactic, just battle, just being there, just literally fight, scratch and claw with every inch of my life like I did in Bolton.
Absolutely, no question about that. And again, I want everybody to follow our friends at GT Ministries UK on YouTube, and especially Facebook, where you can watch the show. And I'm going to be watching Bentley, because I already told you my plans before going back to the movies is watching GT Ministries numbers, and we are definitely getting ready to rumble. And also, management has a comment or two. If you don't mind, I'd like to read what management has to say. The Descendants are certainly a force to be reckoned with. The GTM Rumble is stacked, and we wish Bentley the best on Saturday, as we wish the best to every participant. Let me ask you a question, and going back to this Rumble here in the Fountains Church, and not to say I want to compare it to the Bolton Town Rumble, but there was certainly some interesting participants in that Rumble. I'm sure a few of them will wind up seeing in the Fountains Church, but in terms of maybe comparing and contrasting, do you feel maybe this is a more stacked roster? We got some big names here already now. Sean Only, for example, the Modern Day Mafia we mentioned, Drill. I mean, I almost think in some ways, Bentley, tell me your thoughts. I actually think this might be an even more tougher road for you to win this Rumble than the one in Bolton Town, and that roster was as stacked as anybody's around.
I think in some aspects you're right, whereas I probably have issues with more people in this Rumble. Like, we know my history is Sean Only. We've got Alex Boylan in there. We've got...
You and Boylan are forever going to be attached at the hip one way or another. You know that.
We've got Disciple and Descendants. We've got
Grayson Riley now is in it, the former CCW world champion. We've got guys from Nonstop Action Wrestling who are in. I mean, it's really a who's who of people in here. Modern Day Mafia we mentioned. You saw them, I mean, to say the least. And there's a who's who of people on this roster that are going to certainly have you marked, like I said at the very beginning.
Yeah, and it's going to be a tough night for all involved, not just me. If people think they can walk in there and just dispatch of me within seconds, then they've got another thing coming. Because, as we know, I was, the first ever BTW Rumble champion. I spent the longest out of anybody who's ever been in a Rumble in Bolton. I got the very first elimination. I got the most eliminations. So I'm coming into this red hot. What's Modern Day Mafia coming into the Rumble as? They both got eliminated from the Bolton Rumble. I can't remember the last time they won on GTM. So Joel Cobra had a lot of strong words on Instagram before the Bolton Rumble, and look where that got him.
He's had a lot of strong words, even on Sportswire, because he was also addressing another big man called the Big Cheese Logan, and it sounded like that Mr. Cobra should certainly reevaluate some of his plans, but that's here nor there. But I do have some more comments. Let me come back to those comments. And Daniel Banner says, there seems to be a theme this year in wrestling. Everyone wants to finish their Cody Rhodes story, and then it's you also. If you want to finish it, grab the pen, write your own ending, but I'm sure Bentley will be scouting the trainees to see future opponents. All right, so I got some of that here. And coming back into this Rumble, and I wasn't going to ask you about it, but maybe I should, because there was somebody that you eliminated in the Bolton Town Rumble to actually win the Rumble. And I was wondering if you had a thought or two, if we're going to see him in this Rumble. Kind of been quiet here on Sportswire over the past several months about him. Last year, I felt like everybody couldn't get his name out of their mouths. And we're talking about Gareth Angel. And you had a thought or two on Mr. Angel? Do you think we'll see him in this Rumble? And if so, I mean, I think that would be something possibly that a lot of people might want to see. That, and that could even be, who knows, maybe a replay of what we saw a couple of weeks ago there in Bolton Town. You have a thought or two on that, Mr. Bentley?
As regards for Gaz, I don't know if he's going to be in the Rumble. I don't know what his plans are to appear at GTM. He seems to have shied away from actually getting back in the ring at GTM. I don't know what he's waiting for. I know he's had issues with Disciple, as we all have.
Issues? I mean, Disciple basically thought he had rid Gareth Angel of GT Ministries and wiped him off the map. That was his words after he took the title from him last year. And, and I just thought
his entire reign focusing on Gareth Angel that wasn't even there.
Maybe he had more success talking about Gareth Angel than some might say what he actually did as champion. Maybe that's
exactly. So I'm not going to focus on whether someone might or might not be there. We know Gareth is around. We don't know whether he's going to be in the Rumble. He's been in the front row for the past God knows how many shows. So
yes,
he's appeared. He was in the Bolton Rumble. He didn't get far with me there. So
what happened there with? I should almost ask this. I'm scared to ask it. What happened with his tights? Oh my!
Didn't Drillella steal them?
Yes, and then we had, I think, somebody else in the Modern Day Mafia wanted a kiss, I think, from Jarella, and that was certainly, I guess somebody must have been pulling a rib on somebody. That was my first thought.
I just didn't know what was going on. I used that time to catch a breath.
I did notice that throughout the Rumble, one of the advantages you deployed was you were actually kind of biding your time almost. Maybe if you draw such an early entry, maybe that's the way to go about it. You almost kind of paced yourself. You were almost like a marathon man. I mean, obviously you can't control where you're going to enter, but maybe that's the strategy. I don't know.
I mean, obviously, if you go in early, you've got a lot of work to do, and you've got to conserve your energy. I rolled out the ring at one point when I got a bit hurt. Thought there's no point me lying in the ring as an opportunity for someone to grab if I can recover a bit on the outside. Obviously, we know you're only out if you go over the top. I did, there's times when I was hurt and I didn't get out of the ring, but I was under the rope. There's places you can go in a Rumble where if you're hurt and you're grounded, especially someone, my size, it's going to be harder for someone to get me up and chuck me out. So, yeah, there's tactical waiting, there's tactical, not getting up when you could do because you're waiting for the right moment. You've just all these things. Like, that's another thing. You don't know if someone's led on the corner, you don't know whether they're just waiting for the moment or, so are they going to be a dead weight? So you've got to concentrate on what's in front of you.
Sure, no question about it. And I want everybody to follow Bentley while you have a chance also on Instagram at Bentley_wrestler. Also, please follow him on Twitter, Bentley Wrestle. Also, catch him on Facebook as well. So please support Bentley. Bentley has long been one of our favorites on Sportswire and one of the reasons why we love GT Ministries coverage. And I'll have I guess I should say it while I'm on the air. I may very well have a GT Ministries related announcement for a future guest, possibly next week on the show in Bentley's chair. So stay tuned for all that. But I wanted to ask you a question, obviously a simple question. And what did it mean to you to be the first ever Bolton Town Wrestling Over the Top Rumble winner? What did that mean to you?
It meant the world. Like, I've been scratching and clawing and fighting for the past at least 2 years.
I've had you on, I think, for a year and a half almost. We've been doing this dance every few months, and it feels like a lot longer. But yeah, I would say about 2 years almost since you've been kind of clawing your way to the top.
And the first, I mean, I wasn't even meant to be on the first few BTW shows. Like, the first BTW show, I got on last minute just because Stocks needed a partner. The second show, I only got on again last minute. It wasn't meant to be part of it. Someone pulled out, and I ended up. And then from there, it's just been skyrocketed. Like, every show has just been better and better and better and evolved. So that it's been a good personal story of Bolton. That's why, and the fans have grown with me. Like, they've got louder each show, and they've got behind me each show, and they haven't stopped believing in me, and that's been the main thing. Like, they bring signs, they wear the shirt.
How about the kids that come and greet you after each show? I mean, you really have a fan base that truly identifies with you. You've been kind of this hero almost to people.
Yeah, and then so I never expected, like, you high five one kid and then 15 come out of nowhere and high five. And I mean, it's mind boggling that people want to come see you. Like, people are there for you. So it meant the world to win it for them. I mean, they've had Jack running roughshod as champion for quite a few months now. He came out and confronted me at the end. We had to get pulled apart. We don't know what the stipulation or.
I mean, the whole locker room literally had to pull both of you from each other. It almost seemed like it was in GT Ministries, but you and Disciple, where Linda had to get everybody out there to break you guys up almost. The same story, different company almost.
I don't know what it's about me, but I've been involved in 3 pull-apart roster brawls in the past 18 months. Me and Stocks, the roster had to come out and pull us apart. Me and Jack, and then me and Disciple. Like, I don't know what it is. It just seems to be a thing that follows me around. But people always seem to want to confront me.
Well, because obviously you're one of, as usual, always one of the favorites to win different things, and you've been right there, and just maybe you figured things out, because we spoke with you all these times in the past. And it was like, well, you've been this close. You haven't quite won the big one, but now technically you have won the big ones. You won the Rumble, and you did win that GTM World Championship, which I'll get to in a second. But I do have a comment. Speaking of people we just mentioned, Mr. Gareth Angel himself, he is here. And by the way, he was just on Christian radio earlier this morning. I had a chance to listen to it for a few minutes, so I want to give a big shout out to Mr. Angel. I didn't get to say congrats to Bentley at Bolton, so congrats, mate. Well deserved. All right.
Thank you, Gareth.
Nothing else you want to say to that? Nothing.
I mean, thanks, guys.
Well, I have one participant in the Rumble that I'd be very curious to see you lock horns with. That's your old foe, Sean Only. Obviously, Sean Only, we know, is the head trainee in GTM, and you guys have got some history. And I feel like that's a guy, for whatever reason, I'm almost certain that I think you two are, for whatever reason, going to cross paths again. You ever thought or two on that? Because I think Sean Only is somebody that we know is in the Rumble, and I could just, for whatever reason, see you and him go at it again in the Rumble this weekend.
Sean is someone he's been around a long time.
Absolutely.
He's a great wrestler. And yeah, we had our problems. I've not really been face to face with him for a long time. It's something that could happen, and I know we'd probably tear the house down. But I don't know who I'm going to face in the Rumble. Anybody could be in there. So, like, Sean Only I would say he's arguably the best, maybe the best wrestler on the roster at GTM.
He's the trainer. I mean, obviously, for a reason, he's the trainer. I mean, obviously, he's definitely at the top of the list. Can't argue that.
So he's one to watch out for. I mean, he's going to want to set an example for his trainees.
Fair enough. No, definitely. And Daniel Banner is obviously one of those people here. And I want to ask you a couple of questions on the GT Ministries Championship in a second while we have a little bit more time with you. In regards to GTM, I will say this. Proverbs 16:9. We can make our plans, but the Lord determines our steps. You can't keep a king from his kingdom for too long. Interesting. Interesting comment there. You can't keep a king from his kingdom for too long. The Lord determines our steps. Hmm. Interesting. I wonder what Mr. Angel is trying to imply here, but we'll have to find out, I'm sure, and I will have an announcement possibly related toward Mr. Angel at the end of the show here. But speaking of the World Championship, obviously you had a taste of that title, and it was announced not too long ago, literally right before we went on the air. So we're going to go talk about this here for a few minutes, that we are going to see Rarebit, the man that took the championship from you, going to be defending the title against another longtime nemesis of yours, and Jack Johnson. And I was curious, especially for those that are fans of GT Ministries who are going to be there in the Fountains Church or like me watching at home. What's your thoughts on that match? Do you have an opinion on who you'd like to see come away with the title? And I mean, what's your thoughts on Rabbit versus Jack Johnson now that that's been announced here at the Fountains Church here at Numbers for the GTM World title?
Oh, Rabbit is a machine, a monster, and an all-round, like, I don't want to, mental. Is that the right word? I don't want to come across as too un-PC.
Well, he's interesting. Let's just say unique. Interesting, unique.
But it really got to me when he cashed in. Like, even some of the crowd were slightly behind Rarebit at some point during that cash in. I don't know why, don't know what for, but it really got to me. It really, I mean, I'm gonna go. It hurt. Really hurt that happened. Like, I got there, finally won that title, and then I was champion for 30 seconds, all ripped away. So I want Rarebit. Like, yeah, Jack, I wish him all the best against Rarebit, but I have a feeling Rarebit may just mow him down depending on what mood Rarebit's in. If Rarebit really wants to keep that title, who knows? We saw a different side of Rarebit in Bolton. He came out with a new mask and didn't really speak that much, didn't interact with the fans, which I think is kind of thing where some of the fans were starting to actually like him a bit. But if that Rarebit shows up, I fear for Jack. But I'm going to do all I can to get a rematch with Rarebit. Even if I don't win the Rumble, Rarebit loses the title, I want a match with Rarebit no matter what.
Let me ask you this question, because you've had a rather interesting run here the past year and a half to 2 years in GTM. You've had some opponents that you've had some real fierce, personal, intense rivalries, whether it was Sean Only, we just talked about, Jack, obviously, well documented, Alex Boylan, and now Rarebit and Disciple prior to this, the man that I guess you took the title from, for whatever that's worth. But if I were to say to you, just hearing from you, I know we spoke a lot about Disciple over the past several months, Jack last year, even Sean Only, Boylan in between that, but maybe the most intense animosity you feel right now, if any of those people I mentioned in GTM, would be Rarebit. What would you say to that?
Yeah, I would agree, because at the moment
he took something away from you that you long worked for. It was your moment, and it was taken away from you just like that.
Yeah, so you've got to think of all those other rivalries where, yeah, they were personal, yeah, they were, but this time I finally came through. Finally, I'd hit a massive personal achievement and professional achievement. Finally got to where I wanted to be. And like you said, ripped away in a second. I had a dent of a briefcase in my back for about 3 weeks. Like, it's just, that is the one thing that is driving me at the moment, is getting a rematch with Rarebit. That's all I want.
So it doesn't matter to you then if Jack somehow walks away yet again with the title. You want Rarebit no matter what? Is that what you're telling us here on Sportswire?
I am, yeah. Even if I don't win the Rumble and Rarebit loses the title, I won't Rarebit no matter what. If I win the Rumble, I'll happily face Jack and then I'll defend against Rarebit. Whatever happens in that match, I won't Rarebit in the next 4 months.
Well, you said, listen, your latest promo, you really laid it out there. And that's why I wanted to ask you again about Rarebit, because I really felt like there was something there that even, listen, you've had some issues again with Disciple. They've been well documented. We've even had the two of yous on here at the same time in the past. I mean, Sean Only we spoke about. Jack we spoke about. But I felt like with Rarebit did something that I think a lot of people would have said that's the cheap way out. He should have did it man to man. He shouldn't have did it that way. And especially after the way Rarebit, almost in a way, for Rarebit's way of almost promising you he wasn't going to do that. But he contemplated it. He couldn't let it go, and he did it. And he took the cheap way out. And I think in your latest promo, which again we can see on the GT Ministries Facebook page at GT Ministries UK, and also Bentley_wrestler on Instagram, and also Facebook and Twitter of Bentley's page as well, that I think you kind of addressed that.
Yeah, he took the cheap way out. He stole it from me. He took it from me in an instant. I mean, I know that's why you have these briefcases. I know, that is what wrestling, that is. That can happen. But when you trust someone and they take it, they do that to you, it ignites something in you. It not I wouldn't say vengeful, because I'm not a vengeful person, but justice. I'm fighting for justice, and this time it's
you've always fought for the right way about doing things.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want about you, whether you've always been gullible, whether you've been naive, I don't know. But what I will always say about you, Bentley, is that you've always tried to go about it the right way. You've always looked to do things for the greater good. You've always been that way. And I think what Rarebit did, it hurt you. I mean, it hurt you not in a way of physical pain. Yes, I know you spoke about the briefcase. Certainly, I'm sure that hurt, but it was almost like it was the cowardly way out. It was almost the cheap way out. There's a way of doing things that wasn't the right way to go about it, maybe. Daniel Banner would like to say about Sean Only, not only a great trainer, but a great wrestler, but he's also a bully who will need to be taught a lesson, which will happen on Saturday. I promise. We'll have to find out. But if you are on Sportswire Radio, I thank you for giving us a like here. We're on Facebook at Sportswire Radio. Just recently passed the 500 like milestone, so thank you for following and liking us. Also, we're on YouTube. Just hit 250 subscribers, and the temporary ban seems to be just fine for us on Facebook, because on YouTube just gained over 100 new subscribers, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our content on sportnarium.com/player. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Got about 10 or 15 more minutes here with the vigilante of pro wrestling, Bentley, who is the 2023 Bolton Town Over the Top Rumble winner, the company's first ever Rumble victory. He also was, for that brief moment, the GT Ministries world champion. I could see Bentley getting a little bit upset when we mentioned it, but he was no longer the almost man here. I have a comment for management. Would you like me to read it off? Because they actually are addressing you here in a second. Would you like me to read off what GT Ministries management has to say towards you, Mr.
Go
Bentley?
for it.
All right. We will take your request to face Rarebit regardless of the lay of the land after numbers into consideration, as we do all talent requests. What do you say to that?
Well, that's what I want. That is, I wasn't going to rest till it happened, even if I had fought it to happen. But now, it's under consideration. Let's hope that means it's a yes.
Okay, well, you know what? I guess we'll have to find out. Certainly, I'm going to be watching the show just as everyone else does, and we'll have to figure out here what it is. But I have to almost ask you the question.
Who's your pick for the Rumble?
What's that?
Who's your pick for the Rumble?
It's interesting because I would have to say you have a lot of momentum. I would definitely say you're in my top 2 or 3 favorites to win the Rumble. But I will say something, though, Mr. Bentley, there is somebody that if he's in the Rumble, and I hate to say it, who is actually always seems to have a number on you. No pun and no pun intended. Alex Boylan, the
Well, we
metal
know
god Alex.
we know he's in the Rumble, but we know he's number one.
But something tells me here, listen, you and him are going to cross paths. I don't know what it is about Boylan and Boylan draw. I'm not saying he's my favorite. I would have to say, call me crazy, but I think Boylan's in my top 4 or 5. Watch me be totally like wrong here, and somebody pulls a joke, and Boylan's like the first guy out. But if I were to say who would be my favorites, I would say it would be you. I would say Sean Only for sure, because I think Sean Only's going to come in here. He's got an axe to grind for sure. And I'm going to go under the radar here a little bit. I'm going to go Grayson Riley. Grayson Riley was the CCW World Champion. He's been here in GTM before. He had success when he was the CCW Tag Team Champions, part of then the Working Class Militia. And I think those would be my favorites. Also, I would have to throw out there any combination of the Mafia. Any combination of the Mafia. Joel Cobra, Dave Douglas are in the Rumble, AJ Graham, Joel Cobra. Obviously, he's got the size. So if I were to say, Bentley, of any of my favorites, it's going to be guys who have the size and guys who have, quote unquote, maybe the numbers or the strength over anybody else that's been in there. And I guess leaving out as an asterisk, Mr. Angel. That's my asterisk one, by the way, because Mr. Angel won it last year. And if Mr. Angel were to be in it this year, now again, we don't know. We don't know, right, about Gareth Angel. But, I would love to see you and Angel as the final two. That's just all I'm going to say.
Well, we know what happened last time. Me and Angel were the last two, don't we?
Fair play. Listen, fair play. Duly noted. But I would have to say, you're definitely in the discussion. And also, by the way, Disciple, who is obviously the former champion, is going to be in there. He's also in my top 4 or 5. So my top 4 or 5, maybe Sean Only, you, Disciple, Grayson Riley, and Alex Boylan. And an asterisk, Gareth Angel is an asterisk. So what do you say to that? I mean, you can't feel too bad about that because I have you in the running.
Would you have said that if I wasn't here?
I would have still said you were in my top 4 or 5 because you won the Bolton Town Rumble. And I think that the law of logic says to me, you've got the momentum right now. And the law of logic tells me that you know how to participate and win Rumbles. So I would say right now, off the bat, you're in my top 4 or 5, no matter what.
Good.
And I do think also that Disciple, it's going to be interesting to see how he bounces back because now he's lost the title that he held for so long and almost in a way proves to what people had thought about Disciple. Well, maybe he was the champion or wasn't the champion and he didn't face the right people. Jack beat him in a non-title match. So to me, I kind of think that you're right there. I mean, you're right there. It also depends on where do you land in the drawing? I mean, I think that's a fair play.
No, we don't find out till the night. We have no idea.
By the way, management actually heard what I has to say, and they kind of think it's interesting what I had to say. I'm glad somebody did. Tom, the fact you have so many picks tells me we have an unpredictable night of chaos ahead of us. And by the way, I want to point out as to the reason why I think you're in the top 4 or 5 as to who I think can win it. You weren't in it last year, and a lot of people thought you were going to win the Rumble last year.
But I got knocked out by Ginha, whatever it's called.
Yes, you can call him Gina, whatever else you might want to call him. But he's obviously somebody that we've spoke about many times in the past, but I'm worried about talking about the future. And again, the Fountains Church coming up here this weekend. Numbers, it is going to be the event of the year. It's GTM's biggest show. Very, very excited about it. So I have to ask you the question, which I know you're probably not going to want me to ask, but I have to ask it. What did it mean to you, though, for that very brief moment in time to be the GT Ministries World Champion?
It's going to be similar to the way I felt about winning the Bolton Rumble, because obviously, but then this was more of a just 9 months of a journey, was it? Me and Disciple, just
about 8-9 months, correct. And even actually, I would even go further in saying to me, it was more about 15 months because remember, the first time your first main event was against Disciple in GTM. Yeah. You guys on and off really were feuding with each other up to that point. I would say for 15 months.
So yeah, it was the the end of all that was emotionally, it was
Draining.
emotional high. It was great.
Yep.
I'd worked and worked and worked, albeit in unusual circumstances, to win a title in a 6-man elimination. I did it, and it was reaching the pinnacle of my career so far. It was I finally got to the top, finally won that title, and it meant the world. Everybody was there with me. It was standing ovation. It was
an emotional moment. It was an emotional moment.
What you dream of, It's what when you were a kid you dream of, lifting the title up, everyone's there on your side, and everybody being with you and everyone enjoying that moment together. So it meant the world, and to have it ripped away was, it was upsetting. I had a few days of being very, very low after that.
I could imagine. You only held the title for a short moment, and you never get a chance to process this whole moment, and then it slips away.
Yeah, so I had to pick myself back up, get myself back on the horse, get myself back in the gym, work, as I've always done, as I've been telling you for the past 2 years.
You've always done that, though. You've always been in phenomenal shape. What you do in the ring, the way you move, I mean, you've really put the work in. I mean, if there's anybody that deserves to be at the top of the mountain and to finish the story, it really is you. I mean, I'm not just saying it because you're on. I speak with a lot of people all over the place, and you've really been one of those guys that puts the work in. Listen, and I'll say it on the record. Sheriff Steele, I was with Sheriff Steele when he was here in New York. I mentioned you. I said, Bentley's been one of my guys. I've had him on here a long time. And he said, Bentley is one of those guys that is right there. The work he's put in from where he started to where he is now shows that he's on the level of going to be like an RP Davis, where he's going to hold multiple titles and be that guy. There's only a handful of them in the UK where people come out and see, and they pay and go out and watch, and they have a fan base. You're just there. You're almost there, it seems.
And let's hope I had a big June.
You did?
Yeah, big June. I just remember the month then. It's been a long 2 years.
It was a long 51 plus minutes in that Rumble in Bolton Town, to say the least.
So let's make that. So the second half of the year started off great, and let's finish the year even better than we've gone. Let's just take it to the next level. We've got this Rumble. I've got a Bolton title shot guaranteed in September. I've got this Rumble on Saturday. I can guarantee another title shot. I think it's September, the Chronicles 2, I think it is.
Yeah.
Maybe
the end of September.
I'll have to double check that. But yeah, I could have 2 title shots in September. I could have that lined up. What a way to end the, or not end the year. It's not the end of the year, September, but I could end the year as double champ. And that is a goal. I mean, the goal,
listen,
yeah. I know I'm guaranteed. Well, I would like to say me and Jack have fought a lot of times. And I know, I'm hoping one of those stipulations for our match is Drill not to be at ringside or not get involved, or else he'll lose. Then we know I'm beating Jack. But let's hope that's the case.
I was going to say, I have a couple of comments here, and I'll get to that. We got a few more minutes with you. I'll give my last point before I ask you 2 more questions. Is RPD was in your spot last year from the year prior. He was almost getting there. He couldn't quite get there in those different companies. And then he was able to kind of bounce back from that adversity, and now he's holding 3 world championships. You're right there where you could all of a sudden, in 2 short months from now, be holding 2 world championships. And we could be comparing Bentley and RPD. Who's the better world champion? Who's the bigger star? That's why I feel like you're right there. You're just about right there to be one of the few wrestlers in the UK that is a true attraction, that people want to go out there and see. You're building. You're right there. You remind me of where RPD was in this spot in your chair last summer. And look where he is this summer. And I think that Bentley, very well, you, my friend, this weekend in the Fountains Church, and certainly September 1st, could finally finish that story, write it, and then have 2 world championships in a blink of an eye. And you're right there. We're comparing who's the better world champion, who's the best wrestler in the UK. We very well could be right there. Couple of more comments here. Good luck, Rumble. I'm behind you. Want to say hello to you as well, Shaz Louise North. Also, I'm behind Bentley for the Rumble. He is a great wrestler. Best time was when he hit Alex Boylan, the Metal God with the chair. Well, there's a lot of people out there that would like to hit Alex Boylan, the Metal God with the chair, inside the ring and outside the ring. I'm going to leave that there. But certainly, I don't think too many people would complain, Bentley, if you eliminated the Metal God Alex Boylan. But something tells me I kind of think the Metal God Alex Boylan is got it in him to hang in there for a while. I don't know what it is, but I think he's going to hang in for a little while. That's just my my thought out there. And Bentley is a breakout guy, no question about it. Listen, I always say, from when I first had you on about a year and a half ago to where you are now, I'm telling you, I see those RPD comparisons. I legitimately see them because I think you're going to be a guy that's holding multiple titles very soon. Also, Chronicles, we were correct, September the 16th. So it's basically 8 weeks from this coming weekend. So let me ask you two more questions. I realize your time is short here, and I appreciate the time as always. First question is, what do you want to say to anybody that you're going to be competing with inside the ring this Saturday as we get ready to rumble in the Fountains Church at Numbers?
So if you're going to enter that Rumble, just be prepared to either have a flying kick to the face, or man, face me, come up to me and get ready for a war, because I am not getting eliminated in that Rumble without a fight. So just be ready. Be ready to go to war. Be ready to put your life on the line to get a shot at the GTM title, because that's what it means to me. If it doesn't mean that to you, then you're going over the top rope.
Well, we'll have to find out here, certainly. And my last question to you, and again, I always appreciate the time that you give us here, is what would it mean to you to actually win your second Rumble in less than a month? And that would be the GT Ministries Numbers Rumble.
Well, as you've said, for everything, it would mean the actual world. If everyone's there together, behind me, and there's no better feeling. So winning that Rumble and getting that shot again for September, having 2 title shots in a month, that would mean the absolute world. And it would be the best, I would say, the best career moment of.
And listen, think about this. Whoever gets the opportunity to win 2 Rumbles in less than a month, I could not think of anybody. And we were thinking about this here off the air, myself and the crack staff, and 2 Rumbles in less than a month? That's almost unheard of.
I've barely recovered from the last one. So,
well, to win 2 Rumbles in a month, I mean, listen, people are lucky to win 1 Rumble in their career, or even 2 Rumbles in a year, let's say. Stone Cold won back-to-back Rumbles, and there's a few other people that have done it, but to win 2 Rumbles in less than a month? I mean, you would go from being the almost guy to the maybe guy to being the guy that's basically bona fide. That's bona fide history. Think about it. Bentley, you're on the verge of really making maybe in a short amount of time, the biggest comeback story in wrestling history. You go from being the almost guy, the guy that having the story taken away from him, to being maybe the first ever guy to win 2 Rumbles in a month. I mean, that's maybe the greatest comeback story in wrestling history. And what a way to do that, Bentley.
Whilst I agree, it will mean nothing if I don't win the titles after it.
Well, we'll cross those bridges when we'll get there. I'm sure that we'll talk with you before the 1st of September, because I'm sure that you're going to do something big here this weekend in the Fountains Church. So I have no doubt that we'll continue that conversation, but definitely to have that opportunity to win back-to-back Rumbles in less than a month. What a comeback story. Maybe arguably in a short amount of time, the greatest comeback story in wrestling history. And I have a feeling Bentley's got that pen and he's got that piece of paper right here where he's going to write that story. And we're going to be talking about him undoubtedly after GTM's next show this Saturday here in the Fountains Church. And 2 more comments. Come on, Bentley. Come on, Bentley. We all love you at GTM. Bonafide Bentley. That's got a nice ring to it. Put it on a shirt. And I'm ready for anything. Throw your boot. I'll catch it. Bentley went from the almost guy to Mr. Guarantee. Well, you know what? I think Bentley might be bona fide Bentley. He very well could be. I like the
I
ring
would
to
put it
that.
on a shirt, but I've just released a new shirt, so I'm gonna have to wait for the next one.
Okay, well, certainly let us know all that stuff, where we can find the merchandise and more. So I give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, say, my friend, and the floor is yours.
Just as usual, thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for interacting. Get yourself down to GTM, get yourself down to BTW. It means the world if anybody comes down and supports, just to get behind me, to get behind anybody there, just to have people there enjoying wrestling, especially in the UK at the moment when there's a cost of living crisis where.
Oh my God! Here in America, New York, I mean, it's out of control. It's ridiculous.
So when people don't have a lot of money and they choose to spend the money to come out and watch us, especially in this climate, means the world. I mean, even if they buy a t, like, I don't want to push anybody who's, in any situation to buy a t-shirt if they can't. But if you've got the money and you're willing to spend the money on a t-shirt, I have new ones available. Just come talk to me at a show, or message me on my Instagram, Facebook. That's all you need to do. And even if you want to spread the payment out, we'll do something. I'm not really mad. I'm not a guy. I'm not one who wants to push merch or anything too much. Anyway, I only usually release a certain amount of t-shirts and then I'm done. I don't push it out all the time. It's just I thought with the Rumble, these title shots coming up, I thought I'll push something out. But regardless, I appreciate the support of anybody, no matter what. I gave a free t-shirt out to a kid at GTM a few shows ago, so I'm not, depending on what mood I'm in.
Well, I'm glad I'm not going to be there in the Fountains Church in case you're in a bad mood. Yeah. I'll certainly reckon those that might be in the ring with you, they're going to taste some of your boot, and they're going to be thrown out of the Rumble because you are certainly going to want to be the guy that is the bona fide Bentley, and I want everybody to follow Bentley to find out more information on buying a shirt. Bentley_wrestler on Instagram, Bentley Wrestle on Twitter. Also, check him out on Facebook, and we're certainly looking forward to you, my friend, in the Rumble. I always love watching GTM shows. I get to watch them live, and we'll definitely talk with you after the show. And by the way, one more announcement before I go, and with you as well. And as I promised, I guess I'm going to say it here. I hope I don't break the internet or break the GTM locker room, but in your chair next week, some guy named Gareth Angel coming back to Sportswire Radio for the first time in nearly a year. So if we don't see him in the Fountains Church on Saturday, Bonafide Bentley, I'm going to ask him what the deal is. So you have my word. We're going to be speaking a lot about you and certainly Mr. Angel, regardless, next week. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is Bentley, the vigilante of pro wrestling, the first ever Bolton Town Wrestling Rumble winner. He was also the former DTM World Champion, but I have a feeling, ladies and gentlemen, he could also be the first ever Rumble back-to-back winner in the span of a month. You are definitely going to want to follow him and follow our friends at GT Ministries UK on Facebook and YouTube especially, where you can watch Saturday's show at the Fountains Church live. They stream all the shows free of charge, so please support them. I'll be watching 7 p.m. British Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and Mr. Angel says, can't wait, got a lot to say, but we'll certainly find out, obviously. I'm sure you will be. And thank you, everybody, here for tuning in on the #1 global radio station. If you're on sportnarium.com/player, going back to your regularly scheduled programming, thank you, Bentley. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. Good night, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are on the #1